The great thing about stealth mechanics in games is that they can be used in so many different ways. Most of the time, it's used to get the drop on an enemy and turn combat to your favour. In this game, stealth is the main mechanic, but it's used in a very innocent way. El Hijo, a Wild West tale, was released in 2020 on PS4, PC, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, while also being available on PS Plus. It had good reviews, earning a 74 on PC, a 72 on Switch and PS4, and a 71 on Xbox. It was praised for having a beautiful and colourful art style, but criticised for incredibly stupid AI and being too easy. And if you're feeling beautiful and colourful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more OK Gaming. The game begins with a mother and 6-year-old El Hijo, or the son, on their farm, visiting a grave of who we assume is the father. I like that the tutorial for the game was integrated into the wordless storytelling, as it felt more natural and fluid. They're alerted by a fire set by some bandits, and are forced to leave their home. El Hijo's mother makes the hard decision to leave him with the monks for protection, while she goes after the bandits. After a while, El Hijo, missing his mother, decides he's going to sneak out of the monastery, and that's where our adventure begins. The art style was the first thing that caught my eye. It's not too basic and not overly complicated, with the colours really giving the world a warm desert feel that you would find in the Wild West. The lack of words makes this game immediately universal, and the story isn't too complex to follow. The game itself doesn't force too many controls at you, and we're pretty much left to our own devices. The big focus: stay in the shadows. There are multiple ways around each level, with ladders to climb or nooks to hide in. Each monk has their own field of view, which we can only see by using our bird. It's pretty easy to figure these out on our own, but it's good to have just in case. The main objective is to reach the end of the level without being caught, so basic stealth game rules. There can be other children on the level, who are a little out the way, and if we make our way to them, they can give us little bonuses. The little sparkly clouds act as checkpoints, so as long as we get to one, we won't have to start all over again if we're caught. El Hijo doesn't have to crouch and stick to the shadows. He can also throw rocks to distract monks, giving him an opportunity to run by. El Hijo learns more distraction techniques later in the game, which gives a player more ways to get through levels or try new things that work with their playstyle. We also have to move boxes or wield ladders in order to reach other parts of the levels, and making sure they're in the right position or trying not to get caught while moving them can be a challenge in itself. The music is very cartoony, but it doesn't make the game feel silly, and there's enough character in the design to give the monks personality and the environment atmosphere. There are different locations that we get to sneak around in outside of the monastery, such as the desert and a city. This is a really gentle game, and you can go as fast or as slow as you feel. You can take chances and run past monks in the hope that you'll get away, or stick to shadows and make sure your timing is just right. Because the story is simple, we don't feel rushed to complete levels or get to the next part within a certain time frame. It's very mindfully designed, where we can only focus on the world directly in front of us and deal with 1 or 2 monks at a time. At one point I thought I was stuck because I couldn't think of a way through, but once I took a little time to look around, I realized where the path was and aimed for it. This can slow things down, but it does give you more time to be aware of secret paths or easier ways to get through a level. Sometimes, if a monk catches you, you can run from them or just hide. This helps if you're a little too far from a checkpoint or you just don't want to go back through the level. Sometimes you'll get unlucky and be seen, but as the reviews said, the AI is kinda dumb. There were points where I thought a monk should have heard or seen me, but they just carried on sweeping. Other times they would just catch me when I thought I was in the clear. The biggest amount of effort is planning a route through the levels. The design has enough going on that it feels like a living world, but it's not busy enough for it to feel crowded, purely for the sake of difficulty. Talking of difficulty, the monks aren't always the most observant people, with some looking directly at us while we wander past, but we're in a shadow so it's fine. Others have such a big field of view that it feels too hard to try and get past them. This does create out-of-the-box thinking, but other times it's just easier to find another way round. Sometimes it's hard to see the way through a level, like rock walls are just out of view, or aren't too obvious. The camera isn't very movable, and it's more like a twitch camera, so the best way to have a better view is through the bird, but we can't move when it's active. There are simple puzzles to solve within each level, but they're more environmental or behavioural. They can also be approached in different ways, which can mix up playstyles, or make you have to tackle them in ways you may not have expected. Timing is needed for a lot of the levels, and the monk's movement is very repetitive, so it's not too hard to learn their patterns and work around them. This is a great Sunday afternoon kind of game, where you just want to play something but not have to engage your brain too much. You can spend ages on one level trying to inspire all the kids, or try to do a no-catch run. The added challenges of inspiring kids is fun, and as they're optional, you don't feel pressured into finding them if you don't want to. The levels are short enough that you don't feel overwhelmed, but long enough that you feel there's a reason to explore a little. It can be hard to see where the end of the level is, as you're just kind of moving through it, but the linear aspect does help with that. You can usually work out where to go by seeing if certain monks are ones you've snuck past before, or if they're new to you. This could be made a little easier by providing a map, but I think the game devs wanted the unknown layout of the levels to be part of the suspense. I really liked having a stealth game with no combat. It was a nice change from Assassin's Creed or Far Cry. The art style was a perfect example of indie game goodness, and it wasn't so challenging that I wanted to throw my controller whenever I got caught. The story, as uncomplicated as it was, did give me the drive to see what happened to El Hijo, and if he gets to see his mother again. If you want a 5 to 7 hour long adventure that's filled with gorgeous visuals, fun little puzzles to work out, and a soundtrack reminiscent of point-and-click games, El Hijo, A Wild West Tale, is definitely a game to check out. This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. And if you like what you saw, Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like down below.